I put in my notice for the job that I hate. Turns out, half of the staff is quitting, and my bosses will be left with 2 employees. This is long and I'm sorry in advance. I'm the manager at a copycat of a popular bakery that sells cookies. I realized fairly quickly into this job that the owners had no idea what they were doing. They had never even had a job in the food industry before opening 3 bakeries, so they would demand ridiculous things like leaving all rack covers off the cookie racks while we were open because the covers were ugly. I tried to explain that, while the rack covers didn't do a lot, they did at least prevent excess air exposure, and it was unsanitary to leave ready-to-eat food out in the open for 12 hours a day. They ignored me for over a month, all the while texting me asking me why they were getting complaints that our cookies were hard. I ended up having to tell the owners in one of my weekly reports, if we wouldn't leave food out at home like this, why are we leaving out our product that we're trying to sell to consumers and expect them to like a stale cookie? A week after I sent them that report, all of a sudden, they decided that we were going to start covering cookies again. They even bought us lids for our trays. There have been countless experiences with them that have made me question my sanity and experience that 10 years in the food industry has given me. They tried to make me sell underbaked raw cookies because they refused to believe our ovens weren't working properly. I had to reach out to corporate for validation that the issue was common and was indeed an oven issue and not a user issue like my boss tried to say. Corporate tried to sell raw ingredients in an inedible cookie dough topping. I asked the individual that assists the founder with the development of the recipes if the recipe was correct. She said it was, and that she brought safety concerns to the founder, who felt that because she fed her kids the recipe and they turned out fine, it would be fine to sell to the public. I informed my bosses of this information, and they plus the other franchisees in a group email ended up getting the item completely removed from the menu in a fury. My bosses started complaining that they weren't making money. Most would consider it quite well known that most businesses never even break even their first few years. No, they were shocked. Our cookies are more expensive than our overpriced but extremely popular direct competitor. So many people look at the prices and walk right out the door. Did the owners care when I brought this to their attention? No. Don't forget, they opened 3 locations in under a year. They started cutting labor randomly throughout the last few months. By cutting labor I mean they would tell me I was scheduling way too much after telling me the week before that I was doing fantastic and that I need to trim or fire people immediately. When I asked for a budget, they told me to cut until they said it was good. I shed over 50 scheduled hours and multiple people unfortunately and they're still asking for more. I only have a 7-person staff including myself and the owners have never worked in the shop for more than an hour. I've withstood a lot of cuts myself trying to preserve what staff I have left. They started having the teenage girls who work at night close alone to save money despite me telling them that many companies have policies against this to protect our safety. I was ignored until an angry parent of an underage employee tried to get me in trouble with the company. I had to take the fall. I'm drastically underpaid for my position, and I found a different job that will be an instant almost $15,000 raise. I announced my departure to my staff and 4 people have put in their 2 weeks because they don't like where the company is going, and they know that I took the brunt of it. So they didn't have to. I haven't told my bosses yet that almost the entire staff is going with me. I don't really feel bad. Update: this past week was my last week at my bakery job with my out-of-touch owners, and boy has it been a doozy. Upon putting in my 2 weeks notice, I offered them my time to help find and train a replacement, and I also prepped for the upcoming month for them. They have a tendency to hire their managers in the middle of a crisis and throw them in with little training, so I was doing my best to prevent that, and told them so. They were acting really weird but didn't say anything suspicious. No ads were posted on Indeed to replace me. My employees were dropping like flies. One of them was a shitty friend who ducked me over, and the rest all refused to stay if I wasn't there. For months, the owners kept telling me I couldn't staff to what I needed because of labor, but every time someone would need a day off it would screw everyone over because we didn't have a staff. There was no one to cover shifts. We were told to be alone most of the time to save on labor but that left us all doing the jobs of 2-3 people. I fought cutting too many hours from certain people because we would be ducked if we lost anyone. She would always tell me to not let myself be railroaded by my staff but would also refuse to let me work overtime. If I lost people from cutting their hours, I would be forced to fill in those positions and work overtime. So, when I would ask them what they wanted me to do, they never had an answer besides telling me whatever I was doing was wrong. When I could hire, they wouldn't let me hire anyone who wanted more than 15 hours but didn't want me to hire students due to lack of availability. So basically, I couldn't successfully hire at all because no one wants a job where you are required to have an open availability but get no hours and do the job of several people. This week when I offered to post an ad with the company Indeed profile and assist them with hiring, they thanked me but declined. See, a big reason why I wanted to find a new job wasn't just because the company was a joke from the founders all the way down. I knew there was no way we were going to stay open for much longer. Our lease was up soon, and we were drowning. I just had a feeling that if we closed, I would get zero heads up beforehand because they never seemed to handle anything in a manner that was appropriate or helpful for anyone besides themselves. My ex-staff and myself received texts and calls from the owners today informing us that the shop was going to be temporarily closed this upcoming week, and basically dismissed the staff that was left. Which tells me they likely won't be opening the doors back up. There's a lot of little details that I won't include for the sake of brevity, but yeah. I quit my job and they shut the whole place down. It's really sad that they wouldn't just work in their own business. Instead, they chose to leave people without jobs with no notice. That says a lot about them as people, I think. I get 9 days off between jobs that I am insanely grateful for. I haven't gotten to have more than 1 day off in a row in over a year. I'm so excited to sleep through the night without all of the work stress and to get past this burnout I've been dealing with for so long. I got a whole bunch of arts and crafts supplies and I plan to spend a lot of time in the sun now. For the commenter 1, I hope you gave the good hardworking coworkers a heads up so they could polish up their resume and put out some applications and not be sold like the owners were setting everyone up for original poster. Oh no, I told them all of this in advance. Most of them were already applying for other jobs because I had a feeling once I realized they weren't hiring to replace me like they claimed they were. Commenter 2, I doubt it was that bad. Maybe I just don't know the full story. Original poster, you're right, you don't know the full story. I've been with the owners since this shop was being built. They've never worked there a minute more than 30, exactly one time. They opened 3 of these in less than a year because the company is a scam and the founders promised crazy high returns the first year, like almost $1 mil. It wasn't about passion. It wasn't even their menu. Their blood, sweat and tears were never the ones shed for this location, they were mine. I built the team, I organized everything down to the inventory layout and printer setup. I did everything there besides deal with the financials. If you read the first post that this post is updating, you would know I spent a year doing my best to help them make decisions that made sense for the good of the business but was ignored every step of the way until some of it blew up in their faces. Even then they didn't clean up the mess. I had to. They've never even worked in food before opening 3 of these. No, I'm not too hard on them. I gave them the benefit of the doubt dozens of times and did my best to help them. They just didn't want to acknowledge they had no idea what they were doing. And their choices lead them here. The reprieve they hoped for was cutting labor, yet they were buying 6 mini fridges, equipment worth hundreds of dollars like a sugar printer, and a ton of unnecessary stuff that was expensive and unnecessary. While they penny pinched my every move, they were irresponsible. It wasn't a dream that died out. I don't think they dreamt of anything besides money from their greed. If anything, it was my dream that died. It was my passion wasted. Update 2, holy smokes. I didn't expect all this. Lol, thanks for all the kind messages. I can definitely answer some questions that I'm seeing a lot of people ask. First, the OG company is Crumble, and no, it's not Tips Treats. I already had someone message me that works for the same owners at a different business they own because for some reason they also own 2 swim schools, so I'm a bit uncomfortable with outing myself much more. Not that that's going to help me. Embarrassed smiley face. At this point I'm tempted to post the 7 pages expose I found about the company written by an ex-franchisee who had to shut down their business. It's quite a fascinating read. Second, there's a lot of reasons why I repeatedly convinced myself to stay as long as I did. I think a couple large contributors were my perfectionist tendencies and stupid high expectations I have for myself. Another was my team. When I'd come in and see my team busting their asses for me every day, it broke my heart to think about leaving them. I knew once I left the owners would duck them over. We are all young women and I fought for their safety and well-being the best I could. I also really wanted to believe that they were good people who just needed help. Honestly, when I think back on a lot of my actions, I think I upheld my personal values well, and I'm not sure I would do much differently. Even if I wanted to just throw in the towel and tell them what I really felt on those bad days, I didn't want the ugly part of me taking over. I've been working really hard on that. I'm not a pushover though, even if it looks like it. Lol. I challenged them on their odd choices quite a lot. I haven't gotten to fully start my new job since today is the last day of my little vacation. Womp womp. I got to meet my new boss earlier in the week and I'm feeling optimistic. If anyone else has any questions I'm willing to answer them. Thanks so much to everyone for being so kind.